Veteran Salute is sponsored by the Devon James Injury Lawyers.
A veteran from the small town of Garfield says he didn't want to be neck high in water in a war zone, so he decided to learn to fly. And as Gwen Bevel and photojournalist Nick Kiefer show us, that's why the KU football player enrolled in the ROTC Flight Training Program.
Captain Kent Converse was part of the 9th Infantry, and he landed in the Air Cavalry.
Haven't changed a bit.
Army Captain Kent Converse holding his baby girl before he took flight to Korea.
There's a white uniform you don't see very often on an Army guy.
You do when Army officers are hosting a 13-course dinner in the middle of nowhere.
Football team we had in the 7th Division.
Page by page shows how Converse documented so much of his time in the military, like on this one and only unauthorized landing to capture this little girl's smile.
It's a very memorable part of my life.
He vividly remembers this trip through the Panama Canal while American boats kept watch. He says he served with so many great farm boys in Korea and then again in Vietnam.
They were good people. They were patriotic people.
Like the guys on the ground who kept him in the air.
There's the crew chiefs that worked on my helicopter.
Converse had already been flying a helicopter for several years when he volunteered to go to Vietnam.
Mom was pretty disgusted with me. And I was going because I absolutely loved my commander.
World War II vet Lieutenant Colonel Sidney Hazard loved Converse, his main pilot, as well. Converse says the lieutenant once told his fill-in,
"If Converse can fly that helicopter upside down, you can too."
Converse says he couldn't really take it upside down, but he did fly the commander all over.
Look for the enemy is most of our job.
He says they also watched U.S. units. He says one time a line was moving through the jungle and one tank started straggling. Converse was hovering above.
All of a sudden, the whole area erupted in gunfire.
He says they were under attack by the VC.
My commander, Hazard, said, "Fly me down on top of that tank turret."
He says then the tank blew up.
I puckered it up, flew right down on top of that tank turret, and he was out on the skids of the helicopter motioning which way to run, and those guys hopped off the tank. All got out alive.
The young pilot also made sure 2 burn victims got to the hospital.
They flew out holding their hands up like this, and that skin, I can still see it hanging down there that just flashed burn, you know.
Both made it out of the jungle.
Both of them are very grateful for my flight out.
Those soldiers weren't the only ones thankful for Converse. Like the time his expert flying skills got him close to the enemy, the machine gunner had Americans pinned to the ground.
Then I came in right behind him, and he didn't hear me. And I came right to a stop so my observer could shoot him.
As they made their escape,
the bullet came in the left door, skimmed across the top of the seat and through the fatty tissue of his butt of my observer, and then down through under my left leg and hit my right leg and blew it up to the ceiling from the impact, like a sledgehammer hit it.
You can still see where the 30-millimeter round hit just behind him, and there's more evidence here on one rotor. He says the impact really knocked him for a tailspin.
When I wobbled around, finally got hold of everything and got control of everything, I was 1 foot above the Mekong River. I came that close from going into the river.
For his heroics, he earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, and he brought this Russian rifle home.
Through Kansas City Airport with this rifle, and no one ever stopped me or said anything to me.
He says the soldiers captured the gun in their last battle.
They gave it to me, the land forces did, as a helicopter pilot, because I saved them from a lot of hurt.
For more than 250 hours flying, Converse earned this Air Medal.
I owe the government instead of them owing me.
From the very beginning,
I was taken at Fort Riley.
Converse says it was all about service above self. When he returned from the war, Converse went on to continue influencing lives and serving others as a teacher and coach. Here for you, Gwen Bevel, KSN News 3.
The Devon James Injury Lawyer is here with one amazing American hero, and that's Captain Kent Converse, who served our country in both Vietnam and Korea, and was the recipient of the Distinguished Flying Cross and a Purple Heart. On behalf of all of Kansas, thank you for your service.
And I'd like to thank the men I served with, the fighters in the Army, D Trooper, the 3rd and 5th Cav, 9th Infantry Division.
Veteran Salute is sponsored by the Devon James Injury Lawyers.